So with 2020 wrapping up and the gaming world seemingly coming to a little bit of a standstill, I decided to really look at a problem I think Xbox has had for a little while now. And I'm not the only one that sees this problem. It's something that the entire gaming world, including Xbox's Phil Spencer, saw as something they needed to fix. Not to mention multiple high-profile influencers that have a lot of say and knowledge in the gaming space. This problem is the most popular one that people tend to talk about, which is Xbox has no games. And while I truly disagree with that statement because I've played amazing exclusive games on the Xbox platform that I truly enjoyed, I still understand the sentiment has been embedded in gamers' minds because this entire generation Xbox just didn't take care of their first-party studios. Instead, they were forced into managing a budget where they had to pick and choose specific games to be made. That was Xbox's biggest mistake. They didn't take the first-party output serious. And because of that, a lot of gamers started to realize that Xbox didn't invest in themselves, especially when it comes to first-party games. But now things have changed drastically, and Xbox's investment in first-party is at an all-time high and truly higher than most publishers out there, which is something that Ryan McCaffrey brought up in this awesome article. If you don't know who Ryan is, he's a massive influencer that works for IGN and has been covering Xbox since the beginning of time. He's a journalist, so he knows a lot of people in the industry and understands a lot of the nuances that the gaming world revolves around. And he's been very critical about Xbox and their lack of first party for a very long time. Yet now, in this article, he talks about the changing of the guard at Xbox and how they've really solved their biggest issue, which is first party games, and not only the amount of games coming out, but the quality of the ownership of these games. Basically, Ryan talks about Xbox getting their own house in order, as he put it. And I found this article to be extremely informative and really well put together. So I wanted to talk about it and go into detail about what Ryan is talking about and maybe give an opinion on the matter. Because right now, I do have to say I've never been more excited as an Xbox fan, and it's all because of the investment they put into their first party studios. So let's get into this write-up because it's really good. But first, like always, if you like the video, hit that subscribe button and that like button. The support is greatly appreciated. Alright, so the article I'm talking about is an opinion piece by Ryan McCaffrey titled Opinion: Xbox's exclusive game drought is finally almost over. Now, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, Xbox really has turned a complete 180 on their first-party studios. I mean, the start of the Xbox Series X generation compared to the Xbox One generation is night and day. The amount of studios and content potential that Xbox has is over the top. It's nothing, and I mean nothing, like the Xbox One generation or even the Xbox 360 generation, which is something that the article points out here. But let's back up a little bit first. The story of the Xbox One's disastrous launch has been well told at this point, though I'd argue that Microsoft's failures in the first-party/exclusive games department over the past generation has been just as damaging to the brand, if not more so. Funny enough, Xbox One had a pretty solid launch window's worth of exclusives, including Forza Motorsport 5, Dead Rising 3, Rise Son of Rome, and Titanfall. But since starting reasonably strong on the software side, the well has gone and stayed dry year after year. And while there have been some gems, they've been overshadowed by studio closures, franchise failures, and high-profile cancellations, and even higher-profile delays. Now, this is something I totally agree with because the exclusive launch lineup of the Xbox One was very, very strong, and the games that came out were met with positive feedback, minus Son of Rome, which I think is criminally underrated. I love that game, and it's the best of the launch titles to me personally. Yet as time went on, we had studios like Lionhead close down, which was the studio behind Fable back in the day. We had massive delays on Crackdown 3, which wasn't a first-party title, but still a high-profile exclusive that just missed the mark a little bit. Even though it's a great game with a lot of fun moments in it, it still missed the mark. Then you have massive cancellations like Scalebound, which was in the public eye a lot. All of this didn't help the first-party disaster that Xbox had going for the entire Xbox One generation. And when you look back at all of this, you wonder just how Xbox stayed afloat with so much negative news surrounding it. How did they turn the tables on the first-party output and actually invest in their creative talent? Well, we all know that story. They put their money where their mouths were and decided to invest in gaming studios and talent like no other publisher around, which is something that the article brings up here. You know, the recent Xbox story, a host of studio acquisitions, a megaton Bethesda purchase, the rise of Xbox Game Pass, and the release of a great new next-generation console in the Xbox Series X. The last and most important piece of the puzzle has always been first-party and or exclusive games though, and it's also the problem that takes the longest to solve. You simply can't get major system-selling exclusives overnight, even when you pay $7.5 billion. This is single-handedly the best part about this opinion piece because Ryan hits it right on the head. I know that a lot of people are mad about Xbox's first-party exclusives output at the launch of the Xbox Series X, and I'm one of those people that thinks they should have had way more games to show off the power of the Series X. Yet I also understand that you can't just make a game overnight no matter how much money you throw at it. The real problem that Xbox faces now is the time it takes to make those games. Because like the article states here, Xbox has invested in studio acquisitions, studios like Playground Games who are made of two teams making massive AAA games, or studios like Ninja Theory that has two teams making great experiences, or even teams like Obsidian Entertainment who are making Avowed, which looks like a massive undertaking and a game that will compete with Elder Scrolls. All of these studios have joined the Xbox Game Studio family and promise great content down the line. But the one big purchase is of course the Bethesda purchase, which cost Xbox $7.5 billion. It's one of the biggest money deals in gaming history and really turned the gaming world upside down. But even with all those acquisitions, the obstacle Xbox has now is they need to give those developers the time and money to make great games. And we won't be seeing the return factor of those games for a couple of years. Just like the article pointed out, Ryan really did put the situation of Xbox in a very simple way. All the money in the world won't solve this. Does it help the situation? Of course it does. But the main problem they have is the timetable it will take to make those games. And judging by the games being made like Perfect Dark, Halo Infinite, Fable, Starfield, Elder Scrolls 6, Avowed, Everwild, and so many more, it shows that the games are coming, and they're coming big time, like the article points out here. That's an impressive list, and that doesn't even include unannounced but inevitable sequels like Forza Horizon 5, Gears 6, Fallout 5, and Doom 3. Nor do we know what talented studios like Machine Games, Wolfenstein, and Compulsion We Happy Few are up to yet. Meanwhile, Microsoft has also inked a handful of third-party console exclusive launches, including Warhammer 40k Darktide and the Vin Diesel vehicle Arc 2. The bad news is that most of these are still pretty far away. Granted, 2021 should still see a number of exclusives land on Game Pass, though not many heavy hitters. The Medium, Scorn, Crossfire X, Psychonauts 2, Warhammer 12 Minutes, The Ascent, and the console release of Flight Sim are all on tap to be appetizers for 2021's main Xbox course in the fall, Halo Infinite. You know what the bad news is that we won't be seeing a lot of these next generation games for some time. And you know what? I'm going to be giving the Xbox the benefit of the doubt because they have invested a lot of money in gaming. And I see the writing on the wall. I see that they've tried to give us content for years to come. They're investing in not only creative talent, but they're investing in IPs, new games, new franchises, potential games that can define a generation. Games that Sony really showed they could make this last generation. Games that really help sell a system or grow a fan base on an ecosystem. And Sony deserves that kind of respect because they've done what Xbox is investing to do right now, which is something that Ryan points out again here. And look, no one's saying these games are better than PlayStation's exclusives. Sony has earned its sterling reputation among gamers by consistently delivering fantastic first-party games. I'm not writing this as a comparison at all. Quite frankly, Microsoft has to get its own house in order before it can worry about Sony. All of these games have to actually be stellar, not just good, in order for that to happen. And boom, this makes so much sense because everyone, and I mean everyone, wants to compare Sony and Xbox exclusive games when they're not the same type of game or after the same audience. Do I think Sony's focus on single player games works for them? Of course, and it's something I always enjoy when I played Sony's games. But Microsoft has always made co-op focused games that really set the standard for me personally on what an interactive game could be. Sony and Microsoft both have their strengths and weaknesses, but I do have to admit that Sony has really set a standard on what an exclusive first-party game can be, and that's something I have a feeling Xbox knows and needs to address with these new studios they've acquired. But the main thing is that there is a lot of promise with Xbox, and there is a lot of hope for this generation. Far more hope than last generation, which the article points out here. but there's finally light at the end of the tunnel for Xbox gamers. Perfect Dark, a first-person more than a shooter according to the Game Awards reveal video, gives Microsoft the chance to do what a new IP can't. Tap into a groundswell of nostalgia and resurrect a fan-favorite franchise in a way Xbox has never really done before. It could prove to be the perfect complement to the rest of the newly impressive first-party roster. Here's hoping Microsoft can pull the whole thing off, and that Xbox's first-party problems finally become a thing of the past. And there you have it, everyone. I know that Ryan can sometimes say things that divide a lot of Xbox gamers or gamers in general, but at the end of the day, the guy has been in the business for a very, very long time, and he knows what he's talking about. So when I read this whole article, I really agreed with pretty much every single thing he had to say, because he just showed that Xbox really didn't have that much going for it first party wise for years, until they invested in these new studios and games. And because of that, there's a lot of promise and hope for this Xbox Series X generation. And frankly, I'm excited to see what happens in the next several years, because I have a feeling I'm going to be playing so many more franchises and games that I didn't last generation. And all of that is because Xbox is going to actually bring some first party games out we can all be excited for. Like Ryan said, let's hope Xbox can pull this off. But enough of what I think about this. Tell me what you think about this. Do you agree with what Ryan had to say? Are you excited for the first party output from Xbox? Out of all the games announced, which one are you excited for the most? Do you think Xbox will continue to add more studios and games? Are you happy Xbox finally invested in their first party studios? How many new IPs will we get from Xbox this generation? Go down below and let me know. And I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please hit that subscribe button and that like button. The support helps out the channel more than you know. And give me a follow on Twitter at Zalker87. I'm always on there talking games and sharing my latest videos. Plus, I love interacting with everyone there, so get on Twitter and let's talk about gaming. Also, follow me on Xbox Live. My gamertag is Zalker87, just like my channel name. See what games I'm playing, and let's compete in achievements for the month. Right now, I just finished Immortals Fenyx Rising. I recommend that game to every single gamer out there. It's so fun, so well done, no bugs. It launched very cleanly, and I freaking love that game. It's so fun. I'm going to be getting the expansions, the DLCs, whatever they have for that game, I'm going to get it, and I really hope they get a sequel and we get a bunch of other mythologies, because I feel like that studio really does mythologies very well, and I just had a lot of fun with that game. So I recommend everybody get that. Plus, I've been playing a little bit of Call of Duty Zombies, and I'm going to do the Call of Duty Black Ops campaign now, because I haven't done that yet, and I was kind of waiting for my Series X, which I have now, and then I got lost in Immortals. So I'll be jumping into Call of Duty, but let me know what you're playing. Go down below. I love talking about the games everyone is playing, and I really want to know if you're playing on your PS5 or your Xbox Series X and what you're enjoying. So go down below and let's talk about those games. And that's all for now. Thanks for watching, and until next time, remember, enjoy your gaming. Later.